What's up? Nick, aka Sporp here. I am back home visiting my parents, so I thought, why not show off something kind of fun that I made back in high school. So I was in AP Physics back then, and when we got to the subject of electricity, I kind of went hog wild. I just made a bunch of random different projects that I thought were interesting. So I made a impossible box, the one that you poke a button, an arm comes up and shuts the button back closed. I made a glove that shocked when you connected two electrical connectors together. And I made this. This is what's called a coil gun. I had a broken Nerf kind of click handgun just laying around, and I thought it would be the perfect body to retrofit something else into it. And using mostly junk, I don't think I really bought any parts besides the wire for this thing. I ended up with this. So it has a quote-unquote magazine, which is just a AA battery holder. This is from a broken sprinkler system that I helped my dad install. I took the receiver and the part that actually holds the batteries, and I retrofitted that. Oops. It's just so I could do this, basically. That's just fun. And a lot of this, there we go. You can hear it charging now. And a lot of these components are from used disposable camera bodies. If you go to your local name brand drugstore, CVS, Walgreens, Duane Reade, something like that, and you ask if they have any disposable camera bodies that are used, that they're just going to throw away, if you can just have them, they'll probably give them to you. And that's what I did. I went to my local name brand store. I said, hey, could I just take some used disposable camera bodies off you? And they said, sure. They handed me a trash bag full of them. And I used 14 capacitors from them, because that's how a camera flash works. It takes a small battery with a low voltage and kicks it up into a high voltage using one of these capacitors, and then instantaneously discharges all that energy through the filament to make the flash. So I have 14 capacitors in parallel, and I also have 3 charging circuits. And if you look inside here now, the LEDs are just starting to light up. They're gonna be a little tough to see. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to catch them. I'll point it back in front of the camera when it's fully charged. This has been charging for 2 minutes now, at least. This takes like 7 or 8 minutes to charge fully, because it's 2 dinky little batteries. I can feel the handle already heating up from the discharging batteries. And the way a coil gun works is you have some sort of barrel that holds the projectile. In this case, it's gonna be this lucky screw and a cutoff from just a metal rod that I had. I just jammed them both because it just seems to get the spacing right for it. And they sit in the back of the barrel here. And then it uses this coil here. It's a little tough to see, but this coil goes down about yay high, and it's very tightly wrapped. And I think the wire for the coil is the only thing I actually really bought for this project. That and the light switch. And the actual switch, it looks like a Radio Shack switch or something. Schwumpthing. And when you flick, so there's 2 switches in here. This one is a direct connection between the capacitors through the coil. And the other one here is the actual switch that engages the charging circuit. The coil has to be open, so no electricity can be allowed to go through it in order to charge the capacitors, because it just connects positive to negative. And so we charge up all the capacitors using the charging circuit, flick the switch. So if you remember from physics, if electricity travels through a wire, it creates a magnetic field around it. If you put it in a coil, it creates a whole electromagnet. Remember, it's the same concept as what I did back in 3rd grade, where you have that big ass lantern battery. You wrap the wire around a nail, and then you touch the wire on both sides of the battery, and it magnetizes the nail. That's exactly what's happening here. Just, it's happening very quickly for a very specific purpose. The point of a coil gun is to quickly create a magnetic field, and just as quickly to stop it. This projectile sits in the back of the barrel, And this creates a magnetic, and the coil here creates a magnetic field. The very center of the magnetic field is the strongest point, so the coil pulls the metal projectile towards the middle, towards the middle, towards the middle, and then right there, it's at the center, it's at its fastest that it's going to go. However, if the magnetic field is still on, which since this is a dumb gun, that's exactly what's happening. The magnet's still on as it travels past the center point, meaning the electromagnetic field, if you imagine this as the center point, it is accelerating, 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 and then it gets past that midpoint, and then it starts to decelerate because since it's past, you know, the strongest pull, it starts getting pulled backwards. So it speeds up, and then as the magnetic field still stays on, it slows down as it's going in that direction. And that's why this is a dumb coil gun. There are smarter coil guns which use a photo sensor. Just some way of detecting, yes, the projectile's at its midpoint, shut off the coil. And it uses a series of relays in order to quickly turn on the coil and then just as quickly turn it back off when it's at its optimal speed. That's not what this does. You set it off and you pray that the field's gonna die before it hits the midpoint. All right, looks like we are about charged. You can see in there, we got a couple of LEDs, some of them shining through the plastic. Let's fire this thing. It scared me. That's a fun little project that I spent some time on in high school. I'm gonna pop a link in the description of the instructables that I used to build this. Let me know if you want me to build an actual, like, decent coil gun at some point, because it's always fascinated me. I've always wanted to make the relays and the gates shut on and off. So let me know if that'd be something you're interested in. Peace.